Nathaniel Walker, 1813 to 1879. The 1850 and 1868 maps of Oxford show the lovely cape at what is now 69 Christian Street as the home of Nathaniel Walker. The present owners calculate that the house was built about 1840, so Walker may have built it at the time of his marriage to Laura Scott in 1837. While the U.S. Census lists Walker as a shoemaker, a maker of boots, and a farmer in various years, he was active in Oxford affairs as well. In 1875, he was vice president of the Oxford Agricultural Society. He served as judge of probate for 7 years, from circa 1867 to 1874. Walker also represented the town in the Connecticut legislature in 1851. Edwin Alling, fruit farmer in Oxford. Edwin Alling was born in Oxford on March 18, 1834, the son of Eli and Maria Alling. He was one of 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. He lived at his parents' farm until he reached the age of 19 years when he went to New Haven. There, he learned the gilder's trade, staying in New Haven for 4 years. He then returned to Oxford and worked on his parents' farm. He enlisted for Civil War service June 1862. He held the rank of private in Company B, 20th Connecticut Volunteer 1, and participated in numerous battles. He served at both Chancellorsville and Gettysburg. In operations before Atlanta, he was wounded by an explosive ball which struck him in the back. 2 pieces went upward and 3 pieces went downward. As the Oxford man was returning to the rear for medical help, he was again wounded by buckshot. This hit him in the back of his head and passed through his skull and was never removed. Alling was confined in military hospitals for several months, eventually getting a furlough and returning to Oxford. He rejoined his regiment later that year, but was unable to withstand the physical rigors of active service. He was honorably discharged in January 1865. He again returned to Oxford, where he resided the remainder of his life, with the exception of 2 years. Alling established a farm at Oxford of 88 acres and also owned a 65-acre farm out of town. He carried on general agriculture, with particular success in fruit culture. He had 18 acres of land devoted to apples, peaches, plums, strawberries, and raspberries. He took his produce mainly to Naugatuck for sale and marketing. By 1900, he produced as much as 1,000 bushels of hand-picked apples and 150 bushels of strawberries annually. Alling married Laura Bigelow, a granddaughter of a Revolutionary War hero from Colchester, Connecticut. They were married November 30th, 1854, and had 7 children. Alling was a staunch supporter of the local Republican Party and served as an assessor, a road inspector, a constable, and a grand juror. He died on July 16, 1924, and was buried at Oxford Congregational Church Cemetery on Governor's Hill Road.
Authelia Smith Beach. Thousands of women lived out their lives in Oxford during the 18th and 19th centuries, but rarely do we know anything about them other than their bare statistics: birth, marriage, and death dates, plus the names of their children. Authelia Smith Beach is an exception, with her story of heartbreak, hardship, and neighborly kindness. She was born at what is now 289 Chestnut Tree Hill Road in approximately 1827, the daughter of Master Carpenter Chester Smith and his second wife, Sally P. Smith. Her full name was Esther Authelia, but she went by Authelia. She would have attended Chestnut Tree Hill School and was a neighbor of Harriet Crittenden Chatfield, whose friendship quilt she signed. On June 8, 1856, Authelia married Benjamin U. Beach of Cheshire. They moved back to the Smith family farm where 3 children were born to them: Charles, Minnie, and Samuel, all baptized at St. Peter's Church. When the Civil War broke out, Beach enlisted in the 20th Connecticut Volunteer Infantry. He was taken prisoner, but quickly exchanged. He died just before the Battle of Chancellorsville in 1863. Authelia must have struggled to manage a farm and a growing family on her own. Neighbors like Elijah Beach came to her rescue, often noting in his diary that he had worked at Authelia. Authelia died in 1884, age 57. She is buried in the Congregational Church Cemetery.
David R. Lum, 1815 to 1868, and Mary Hudson Lum, 1816 to 1904. David and Mary Hudson Lum are of special interest because we know what they look like. In 1841, an unknown artist painted their portraits, which now hang in the Twitchell Rowland Homestead Museum. They are a handsome couple, and David proudly wears a Masonic pin on his lapel. Mary grew up in the White House directly across from the foot of Governor's Hill Road. She may well have known David all her life. They married in 1836 and had 5 children. David Lum worked in the hat factory in Oxford until 1865, when the Oxford Hotel was willed to him by Franklin Candie. David and Mary ran that business until David's death in 1868. Probate records show that Mary committed David to the Hospital for the Insane in Middletown in 1868. Insanity was common among hatters because of the mercury used to cure the felt. Mary continued as innkeeper until she sold the hotel to her son Franklin in 1873. By 1880, she was living with her daughter Henrietta and working as a nurse. Mary died in 1904.
Reverend Jonathan Lyman. While the Oxford Congregational Church began looking for a minister in 1741 and called several to preach on probation, it wasn't until 1745 that they voted to give Reverend Jonathan Lyman a call to settle over the parish in the work of the gospel ministry. This was no small undertaking for the parish, for money was short, and the job included a house and land, a settlement of money, and sometimes a salary, which was probably small. Lyman was no doubt thoroughly vetted. His credentials, theology, life, and character were carefully examined before he was offered the post. While there are no particular records of Lyman's ministry, the fact that he continued in the position for 18 years speaks well of his performance. He died in 1763, instantly killed after a fall from his horse when he was on his way to visit a sick parishioner. It is also a tribute to him that the congregation paid for his tombstone. His son Noah appears to be one of those marching from the old town of Derby to the relief of Boston during the Revolutionary War.